Hola, ¿qué tal, amigos? Profesor Pablo with grammar lesson 27, telling time. We did a lot of this in sentence starters, so this should be very familiar to you. Point number 1. The plural forms of ser are used for hours 2 through 12. Son, eran, serán, and serían. Point 2. The singular forms of ser are used for 1 o'clock. Es, era, será, and sería. Point 3. In the present. You know what time it is? Use es or son. You are guessing what time it is? Use será or serán. Examples. It's 8 o'clock, son las ocho. It must be 8 o'clock, serán las ocho. You're guessing, you don't know. Es la una, it is 1 o'clock. It must be 1 o'clock, será la una. We use the future of ser, será, serán, to guess what the time is. We use the present tense of ser, es and son, to tell what the time is, and we know what time it is. Point 4. In the past. If you know what time it was, use era or eran. If you are guessing what time it was, use sería or serían. Examples, eran las ocho, it was 8 o'clock. I know that for a fact. Serían las ocho, it must have been 8 o'clock. You're guessing. If you want to say it was 1 o'clock, era la una, it must have been 1, sería la una. It was 10:30, eran las 10:30, it must have been 10:30, serían las 10:30. Point number 5. After the hour, 1 through 29, what is the formula? Take the current hour plus the word y, which is and, but the e is optional. Example, it's 4:13. You could say, son las cuatro, it's 4 o'clock, 13. Son las 4:13, or son las 4:13. Either way. Most people use the e out, but they teach it in classrooms, but in real life, a lot of times people will leave it off. Point number 6. Of the hour, minutes 31 to 59, the formula is the next hour plus menos. Example, it's 4:42. The next hour would be 5. We say, son las 5 menos 18. Son las 5 menos 18. Point number 7. A quarter till or a quarter of the hour. Formula is take the next hour and add menos cuarto. Example, it's a quarter till 5 or it's a quarter of 5. You'd say it's 5 minus a quarter. Son las 5 menos cuarto. It's a quarter to 10. Son las 10 menos cuarto. It's a quarter to 1. Es la una menos cuarto. And of course, son las 5:15. You could also say it's 11:15. You could say son las 11:15. Or you could say son las 11:15. All right, point number 9, sharp. Formula, you take the current hour and add en punto. Example, it's 8 o'clock sharp. Son las 8 en punto. It's 1 o'clock sharp. Es la una en punto. It's 10 o'clock sharp. Son las 10 en punto. It's 4 o'clock sharp. Son las 4 en punto. Point number 10, 30. Formula, take the current hour and add y media. Example, it's 3:30. Son las 3:30. It's 1:30. Es la una y media. It's 5:30. Son las 5:30. All right, let's take a look at number 11. Optional forms of the hour. For minutes 30 to 59, the formula is son slash faltan plus number of minutes of the hour plus para plus the next hour. Well, that's a whole lot. Learn by example. Look at the example. It's 10 minutes till 11. Son 10 para las 11. It's 10 for 11. Son 10 para las 11. It's 25 till 9. Faltan 25 para las 9. So let's say it's 20 to 10. You could say son 20 para las 10. The example again, it's 10 minutes till 11. Son 10 para las 11. It's 25 till 9. You could say son 25 para las 9 or faltan 25 para las 9. Let's look at our formula. Son plus number of minutes after the hour, very common. Example, it's 6:50. Son las 6:50. Son las 6:50. So you could say son las 7 menos 10. You could say son 10 para las 6. You could say son las 6:50. There are many different ways of saying the time. Just make sure whichever you choose, it is correct. Point number 12, AM, PM, AM de la mañana, PM de la tarde or de la noche. For example, it's 5 in the morning, son las 5 de la mañana. It's 6 p.m., son las 6 de la tarde. It's 9 p.m., son las 9 de la noche. And finally, point number 13, when something is done or when something happens. Por or en la mañana works for in the morning. Por or en la tarde works for in the afternoon. At night or in the evening, por or en la noche. Example, el correo llega, the mail arrives, por la mañana, in the morning, or en la mañana. So you have 13 items to look at here for telling time. Again, if you, point number 3, if you're telling time in the present and you know what time it is, it's es or son. If you're guessing, it's será or serán. Point 4, if you're telling time in the past and you know what time it was, it's either era or eran. If you're guessing what time it was in the past, you say sería or serían. Point 5, after the hour, say the current hour and add e plus the amount of minutes. Point 6, of the hour, okay, say the next hour, the next complete hour, and then put menos the amount of minutes. Point number 7, a quarter of or a quarter till, say the next hour menos cuarto. In other words, it's the next hour minus a quarter, which is a quarter of. Point number 8, a quarter after, say the current hour and add y cuarto. Number 9, to say what hour it is sharp, just say the hour and add en punto. It's 9 o'clock sharp, son las 9 en punto. And number 10, 30, you want to say it's like 10:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, say the current hour and add y media. And finally, there are optional forms of saying of the hour and actually after the hour. Look at the examples again, pick out the ones that you're good at and stick with them. Point number 12, AM or PM. If you're saying what time it is, like in the morning, AM or PM, we add de la mañana, de la tarde, or de la noche. And finally, number 13, when you want to say something is done or when something happens, you can say por or en la mañana, por or en la tarde, or por or en la noche. Muy bien, that'll wrap up telling time. That's it for lesson number 28. Gracias por escuchar. Hasta la próxima lección. This is Profesor Pablo signing off. Cambio fuera.